Shalom. I'd like to start off by giving all praises, all honor, all glory unto Yahweh Bahasham, Yahweh Shai, Bahasham, Rakaha Kwadash. I'd like to give double honors unto the apostles and elder bishops and elders of Great Millstone who rule well, taught me this truth. Peace and salutations to the Akim preaching this word with truth and sincerity around the four corners. You know, like Elder Malcolm would be saying, risking their lives and freedom to do so, now more so than ever. Shalom to y'all. Peace and salutations to the Israelite foreigners, the Israelites that live amongst the heathen, that look like some of those heathen. You know, like Elder Malcolm teaches us, this is not a black-only thing. This is an Israelite thing. So, there's going to be Israelites coming back into the fold that look like the nations that they were scattered to. So, shalom to the scattered sheep, the speckled bird, and peace and salutations to the Akim and the few Akwath that listen and learn in silence. Shalom to the true believers, the true worshipers of Yahweh Bahashem, Yahweh Shai. Those are the hopeful elect. It's your brother Yahweh the Bah coming back in the spirit and theme of prophecy. And I just wanted to put up a nice quick something for the sheep, to edify the sheep. I was watching videos all day, and I got an article that I got from my brother today, so I read through it a little bit, just like to share it a little bit. Shalom to him, and I'm gonna read the article, hit a couple of precepts. The Lord's willing, this will be edifying. It has to do with the war between Babylon and Iran in the so-called Middle East, and you really can't believe, what's his name? You really can't believe the mainstream media, because they downplay the body count of the U.S. soldiers. From what I understand, it's in the hundreds, but they're saying 2 or 3 soldiers got killed here or there. That's what this article says. Matter of fact, I'm going to pull it up. Alright, this is from Al Jazeera. It says, Iranian missiles show deadly precision amid U.S.-Iran war escalation. It says, the killing of 3 U.S. soldiers at a Jordan base shows Iran maintains the ability to exact a deadly toll in grinding conflict. They're saying that it's 3 soldiers, but from what I'm being told, I watch Elder Malcolm, the elder in GMS Chicago, and he has a channel called Critical Race Historical Facts, and you should subscribe, like and subscribe. And basically, his was saying that the death toll and the U.S. soldiers over there in the so-called Middle East is in the hundreds, so you really can't believe none of the news outlets. You have to watch alternative news, I'm going to read these 2 paragraphs. It says, an Iranian attack on a United States military site in Jordan that killed 3 U.S. soldiers has shown the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps, IRGC, ability to inflict a deadly toll 5 months into the U.S.-Israel war on Iran. It says the strikes on Friday were the first time U.S. soldiers have been killed by Iranian attacks on U.S. military installations since March 1st, just hours after the U.S. and Israel launched the war. You see, so we're in that time. And we get a couple precepts. And Lord's willing is edifying. I'm going to try to flow for like a little bit over 10 minutes. Give a quick, brief, a brief report. This is Ecclesiastes chapter 3 verse 1. It says, to everything there is a season and a time to every purpose under the heaven. It says a time to be born and a time to die, a time to plant and a time to pluck up that which is planted, a time to kill and a time to heal, a time to break down and a time to build up, a time to weep and a time to laugh, a time to mourn and a time to dance, a time to cast away stones and a time to gather stones together, a time to embrace and a time to refrain from embracing. And we're clearly in the time to refrain from embracing. But it'll tell you. Let me skip down to verse 8. It says, a time to love and a time to hate, a time of war and a time of peace. And we're clearly in a time of hate, because these Iranians, they hate the United States. They hate America. As a matter of fact, the whole world hates America, you know? And we're clearly in a time of war, you see? We're not in a time of peace. We're in a time of war. Because, you know, like it says in 1 Thessalonians, the 5th chapter, when they shall say peace and safety, then sudden destruction. And they proved that already, because basically America has reneged on the peace talks, the ceasefires, you know? And ultimately, man's goings are of the Lord. How can then the man understand his own way? And, you know, it's Proverbs 20th chapter. And the 21st chapter, the king's heart is in the hand of the Lord. You know, like rivers of water, he turneth it whithersoever he will. So everything is happening on the Heavenly Father's time, you see? And right now, and it tells you in Exodus, the 15th chapter, that he is a man of war, you know? Let me see, matter of fact, let me get this in the book of Psalms. There's the book of Psalms chapter 9 verse 16, and it reads, the Lord is known by the judgment which he executeth. The wicked is snared in the work of his own hands. Higeon Selah. You see, so the Heavenly Father is known by the judgment which he executed. And the Lord the Heavenly Father is a strategist. Is the ultimate strategist. This is a game of chess, not checkers. And you can clearly see that America this is the time of judgment for America. You know, for the wickedness that it has done to the world, and ultimately the apple of the Lord's eye, the Israelites, you so-called blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans. You know. This is Jeremiah chapter 51 verse 6, and it reads, flee out of the midst of Babylon and deliver every man his soul. Be not cut off in her iniquity, for this is the time of the Lord's vengeance. If you see the Lord in all capital letters, that lets you know it's talking about the Heavenly Father, the God of Israel. His name is Yahweh. So be not cut off in her iniquity, and his son's name is Yahushai. For this is the time of Yahweh's vengeance. He will render unto her a recompense. It said, Babylon hath been a golden cup in Yahweh's hand, that made all the earth drunken. The nations have drunken of her wine, therefore the nations are mad. And the wine equates to the philosophies, you know, the ideologies of America. You know, this liberating the woman, you know, basically giving her rights and giving her equal rights to the man, when the Lord didn't set it up that way. In the scriptures, the woman is under the man. The man is head of the woman. But in American society, they believe they try to promote that the woman and the man are equal, and that's bullshit. You know, straight like that. This is why you see America deteriorating, because it doesn't follow the law, statutes, and commandments of the Heavenly Father. verse 8, it says, Babylon is suddenly fallen and destroyed. Howl for her. Take balm for her pain. If so be she may be healed. We would have healed Babylon. Here's the point. We would have healed Babylon, but she is not healed. Forsake her, and let us go every one into his own country, for her judgment reacheth unto heaven, and is lifted up even to the skies. You see, so we are right now in the judgment of America. You see, and it's only going to get more and more intense. I'm gonna get this last precept I wanted to get out the Apocrypha. This is Ecclesiasticus, also known as Sirach, chapter 25, verse 7. And it says, There be 9 things which I have judged in mine heart to be happy, and the 10th I will utter with my tongue. A man that hath joy of his children, and he that liveth to see the fall of his enemy. And that's why you got to thank the Heavenly Father and His only begotten Son. You got to say, Call Halal, Yahweh Bahasham, Yahweh Shai, because we are given the opportunity to witness the downfall of this wicked, temporal, evil world. And it's clearly going down. Because the one thing that Esau boasted in was his military. You know? But he took pride in his military. And his military is getting their ass whooped by a so-called lesser country. And it's been prophesied that, you know, that these countries would basically look narrowly upon Esau Edom. Look narrowly upon America. Let me get this. Isaiah chapter 14. 10 and 11. It says, all they shall speak and it reads, all they shall speak and say unto thee, art thou also become weak as we? Art thou become like unto us? Thy pomp is brought down to the grave, and the noise of thy vials. The worm is spread under thee, and the worms cover thee. And you know worms represent corrosion. So Esau's power is being diminished day by day, and it's being proven through this act of war. You know, the Iranians are holding their own, and they're actually thriving in the conditions that they are in. You know, you see the Strait of Hormuz is still not open to America. You know, so you got to expect that the oil and the gas is going to run out. You know, it's going to be a cruel and harsh winter. It's already been a cruel and harsh summer. You know, society as you know it is going to collapse. They haven't gotten any fertilizer. You know, there's no fertilizer. People believe that we've run out of food. That's why America has been producing all of this lab-grown meat. You know, the government has been okaying this. You know, these seedless fruits, seedless vegetables. You know, dystopia is right around the corner. And it's all, to be perfectly honest, it's already here. It's just going to intensify more than before. It says, verse 12, it says, How art thou fallen from heaven, O Lucifer, son of the morning? How art thou cut down to the ground, which didst weaken the nations? You see? And that's exactly what Esau has been. Esau has fallen from heaven. Heaven is a state and condition. You know? Just like hell is a state of condition. And you best believe that it's only going to get worse from here. Like it tells you in the Apocrypha, I believe 2nd Ezra, the 8th chapter, many great miseries shall befall the people that in the latter time shall dwell in the world, because they have walked in great pride. You know, roughly paraphrasing. You know, many great miseries are going to befall the people. And rightfully so, because, you know, they don't want to hearken and listen to the law, statutes, and commandments of the Heavenly Father. So they're going to get judged, you know. But that's all I got for that. The Lord's will, you is edified. Until next time, I'm going to say shalom to the elect. Anything else come across the desk, we'll be sure to bring it out